Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a part 2 of She's Mine Yandere Deku x Ochaco, written by Botan. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin. Deku, the girl said over the darkness caused by what can only be the quirk of the villain, judging by the voice, a female. Right here, Uraraka, she giggled as she slammed the unprepared hero on the ground. Her quirk was to chase away light from her. The whole city was dark. Her eyes were glowing purple strangely as that was all Uraraka could see. I don't appreciate you, heroes, taking care of the leader to our organization. How about some bitter payback? Uraraka shouted, thinking a hit was coming for her, but instead, above her she saw green lightning, then a smash into the wall, then a groan. She stood slowly and looked back to see the woman smiling before passing out. Deku's quirk was so strong that it lighted enough to see half the room. Then the light slowly started to come back on. That's when Uraraka noticed the syringe in the villain's hand and a wound on Izuku's. Deku, she shouted as she ran over to him and he passed out. Uraraka, you okay? Nijire floated rather fast into the room, now with the lights on looked more like a hall. Yes, but Deku passed out, Ochaco explained. She wanted to explain more of course, but she worried that there wasn't enough time. Nijire was in charge of the two but felt the sadness of failing instantly as she rushed to carry the green-haired nerd from the shoulder as Uraraka grabbed his legs and aided her. Uraraka couldn't care less of the villain as she thought, Sensei can take care of her. The both floated to the balcony, then down in an instant and met with Recovery Girl, who was helping the doctors with an injured Mina and Tsu. I'm sorry, Deku. Uraraka covered her face after handing him to Recovery Girl. At the nurse's office, Ochaco was dressed back in her casual, but because of the cold weather she wore a white sweater with a peach scarf and red breathes. She sighed, trying to relieve the guilt she felt. It's been flipping 2 hours, she sighed again. She was more than upset, her eyes had just healed from her cries of fearing Izuku dying. Uraraka? Deku asked a few minutes after Recovery Girl left, just waking up. Deku. Ochaco jumped off the side of the bed to give him a big hug as 5 seconds later she realized the awkwardness and jumped red with blush. Izuku wasn't blushing though. He laughed to himself of her innocence covering his eyes, but when he opened them they were lavender and the once dark green shades of his curly hair were purple. Ochaco didn't understand what was going and backed away a bit back. He held her hand and pulled her on the hospital bed as she turned redder. As he did it his eyes were a darker shade of purple this time. Mine, he strangely thought. He turned Ochaco to him and pulled her closer but then smiled innocently. Thanks for waiting for me, actually thoughtful of you. Ochaco was a bit scared, still seeing the purple shades in his hair. She backed away to be pulled even closer. Is this the quirk? Sensei did say there might be some side effects, but this is stranger than. Izuku touched her cheek when her blush faded into her thoughts. He was thinking of what she was thinking, him or some problem he should take away from her. Permanently. Ochaco stared at him, he staring at her but wasn't focusing on her looking at him. Uraraka, thank you, he smiled his bright innocent smile so she would never suspect his thoughts. She started tearing up as she felt guilty for the weird things happening to him, but then he hugged her softly but tightly so she wouldn't be able to let go. Relax, I'm fine, he said with his lips near her ears almost to a whisper. It's all my fault, you're all messed up, she said. I'm fine, in fact amazing. Ochaco felt confused by this. He brought her closer to him and pulled back to hold her chin with a smirk on his face. No need to worry, he said as Ochaco noticed the strangest thing of all. His hair was black, with those purple shades still there and those purple eyes. What's wrong? He asked, holding her tighter and tighter on his grasp. Ugh, she said under her breath as she noticed Izuku's arms around her as she tried her best to get away. Then suddenly the dark shade started fading and he was back to normal. He blushed at his positioning with his crush. I don't know what came over me, he stammered nervously and let her go. Even with the effect gone his hair was a darker green. Ochaco responded with a blush as she scrambled of the bed. Why yeah, she stammered as she sat on the worn-out bench near the bed. Izuku laughed nervously but stared down at his bruise that was emitting a purple gas until it faded into the air. When he breathed it in, it scented of pure evil. Ochako stared at his normal eyes as she felt her heart beat faster. What just happened? Why did it happen? She thought. Izuku on the other hand wasn't sure he was stable, but he knew Ochako shouldn't worry about him. Thank you, I'm fine now, he said looking up at her. Okay, I'll be off now, feel better. She grabbed her red polka dot bag and went for the birchwood door. See you later, he smiled as she shut the door. Didn't it feel good to have her in your arms, not able to leave you? What? Izuku was confused until he saw a figure of himself form out of purple smoke quickly. He had purple eyes and black hair but without the strange purple shade. Didn't it? The embodiment asked him, but he had a deeper voice than Izuku. What are you? Izuku asked, confused and frightened. The speaker of the truth in your thoughts of lies, he said, folding his arms and raising a brow with a smirk. Don't you think you want her? Don't you think no one else deserves her perfection? The situation was confusing at best. He was saying the truth, but those were feelings Izuku would come over whenever he thought of Ochako liking someone else, but he held his ears. Someone about this copy was so manipulative and controlling. Her gorgeous eyes, her round face, her innocent blush, don't you, CRP? I can still hear him, he thought, releasing his ears, figuring out that they were useless. He stared back in anger for self-defense. Why do you look so angry? I'm just the embodiment of your dash. He grinned mid-sentence. You'll figure that out, he laughed before disappearing back into Izuku. Eraserhead was dumbfounded at getting the quirk scan of the villain. She had two quirks like Todoroki. She could repel light away from her, and she could secrete a liquid from her that when on a person can make them psychopathic. It shocked Eraserhead. He requested to talk to her from the prison ward. As he entered, he saw her black shiny hair and purple eyes. Eraserhead, she stared at him looking so smug. He wanted her to burn in 7 hells, but he breathed deep in and sat on the chair front of hers. She wore an orange prison uniform and quirk cancellation bracelet on her left foot, too tight to get off. She had her arms folded and just stared at him. Clearly she had an attention span. I came to ask you about your quirks, he said. She kept quiet for a moment. My quirks are simple, the power to repel light and to make a person a psychopath towards what they yearn for, she said so easily. Eraserhead didn't understand why she couldn't care less about potentially ruining the boy's life. But you put the liquid into an injection so dash. She giggled without smiling. Smart Eraser, she looked at his shocked eyes, it's going to brain. He gasped from the shock of her evil. The reason why I'm smug is because he took away the man I work for, and because of that I couldn't pay for my mother's surgery and she died and left me this shitty world, but I've had my payback now, so the anger is gone, leaving me emotionless. He clenched his fist in a little understanding of herself, but being so chill about doing something so cold is plain wrong. He stared at Sena and sighed. What are the side effects? Didn't I say it before? She raised a brow. Whatever he yearned for, Eraserhead was seeing she wasn't scared on bit of what she had done to the problem child. She didn't hate Izuku, well, not anymore anyway. She sighed, knowing she was being a bitch for not telling him. If anything gets in his way of having what, he may do something drastic, she said. So she does pity him, he thought to himself. Eraser, time's up, the guard said and led Sena to the door leading to the hall. Goodbye, she said with no signs of happiness or regret. Eraserhead knew that he needed to know what Izuku wanted and keep as far away from him as possible. As his test by recovery girl said that whatever did could be permanent or deadly difficult to get rid of. He went out and went into his car and started it, fearing and thinking on how to save Izuku. He drove up to the school dorms. It was so early, he doubted that anyone was awake, so he stepped into it and called the two in. Times Izuku groaned in his sleep, dreaming the feeling of a purple aura around him. That scent and the evil in the air. Izuku, you keep fighting me, but you're fighting yourself. The copy hovered around Izuku. You're not me. Izuku denied the copy from getting into him. Don't you see, are you so blind to not even see how much you want her?" the copy said in a loud but whispery voice. "No." Izuku tried to cover his ears, but then chains came his way as he dodged them and their speed cleared most the purple smoke around them. "Not strong enough to take care of your denial," the copy sighed, "but the more you deny me, the more I get from you." The copy smirked and then Izuku woke up with sweat streaming down his face like a river. He heard a knock on his door, but even he knew that wasn't what woke and panicked him. He got up using a hand towel on his beside mini cabinet to wipe his forehead and put on his neon blue jacket and opened the door to see his sensei. "Good morning, sensei," he said as he tried to smile but got nothing. "Aizawa just said, come with me, now," then he stepped down the hall. Izuku followed. He stopped Izuku at the general room of the dorm as they saw Ochaco wearing a green sweater with a yellow skirt and comfy slippers kicking her feet, sitting on the couch. She, unlike Izuku, slept a little well. Aizawa turned to them. "Sana explained her quirk to me. I didn't budge enough for me to get the signs of the effects, but she said it'll increase your interest for something in negative ways." He stared at Izuku. "What do you want the most in the world?" "I want to save people," with a smile. Izuku looked at the mark on his fist with a look that said, "Worth it." "Is that all? Don't you want the appealing brunette?" Izuku blushed when he caught Ochaco's eyes for a split second. "Anything else, perhaps?" Aizawa asked, mentally noting Uraraka. "Why am I here to feel guilty?" Ochaco whined in her head. Izuku was holding his arm where the purple mark was, feeling the purple aura. "Fine, I'll take care of this when I know what it is," Aizawa sighed. Izuku looked at Ochaco, who was deep in her thoughts. "Of course." He groaned and went back to his room, locking the door behind him. He scratched his curly hair ferociously and bit his nails in fear of the purple aura. He raised up the sleeve of his jacket to see the smoke coming out as if blocked by his jacket. It started to sting when he held it to hold it back even a little. "CRP, he hissed in slight shock of the pain. "Still trying, aren't we? Look at yourself denying it, not letting it happen. How's that working out for ya?" The copy Izuku formed of the purple smoke again. It seemed only Izuku could see him because he felt fake, but the smoke was real. He floated around Izuku as Izuku put his defense up, expecting that chain attack again. "You know you love her, you know you want her, but you keep letting her free," the copy smirked with every sentence he ended. "You know she belongs to you, so claim her. Like the trophy she is." Laughed at how tired Izuku was from hearing all his dark thoughts said with ×10 negativity inside him but with a fake outside figure. The copy disappeared with the knock on the door. The purple smoke faded away instantly as Izuku lost his breath for a second. "Deku, can we talk?" he heard the cute voice he fell in love with. Literally, anyone but her should have knocked on that door with or without arms. He slid on the side of his bed, unwilling to answer, but because the door was locked, she knew he was in there. "Please go, don't come near me," he said, tears threatening to flow down his eyes. "Deku, please, open up," she pleaded. He sighed and opened up for her. As she sat on the side of his bed near him, she asked, "Are you feeling better? It's a strange quirk you took on yesterday." He groaned on that question. It was weird, but he couldn't imagine it worse. Ochaco felt his intensity and put her hand on his. "It's gonna be fine, all right." As Izuku felt his cheeks turn red, his eyes turned purple, this time with his hair black with the same purple shades, of course. "Ha!" Ochaco felt herself being quickly dragged to the wall, but still on the bed as she was pinned down by her hands being held. Her blush was bright red and she just stared at Izuku's purple eyes filled with longing. "Deku. It wouldn't be that I'm not the first person to this," he smirked intensely, leaning in closer. Ochaco gulped with blush all over her face. "Well, I hope not." He leaned into her for a kiss on her lips. His and hers were soft, not that he minded, of course. Her blush reduced as she leaned back in for the kiss. As they broke from it with her still pinned, she felt weird, obviously. As she noticed the shades of purple, she remembered that it was the quirk, not Izuku. As Izuku leaned in back to her, they heard Momo calling everyone out for breakfast. "Annoying," Izuku groaned in his head, staring at the door in hatred he saw Ochaco smiling nervously at him. Then normal Izuku came back, hair darker now than before, but this time it was noticeable. It was a 1-week break for UA because of the weird storms caused by Seina's quirk. I was drizzling outside but still not assuring it was safe. Izuku groaned loudly seeing Ochako leaving him but sighed and went out also. Jiro was making omelets for the class, it made Ochako groan of the good smell. Toru was aiding her and making jokes while everyone else were shocked of her amazing cooking skills. Izuku couldn't care less. Ochako sat beside him as Bakugo walked in with a set-off look as with Kirishima, Kaminari, Shiro and Mina. Uraraka, Izuku said that made her head turn. Uraraka. Mina shouted excitedly, update me, girl. Ochako instantly knew what Mina meant as Mina snatched her off the seat towards her little group. Izuku, frustrated, shattered the glass cup in his hand but it didn't cut him as he gritted his teeth. No one could explain why but Bakugo was acting nice to Ochako. It annoyed Izuku so much he wanted to just the purple stated to come again. He frowned as his head bent down and hair covered his eyes. No one noticed of course. As breakfast was ready Jiro brought the food in a tray while Toru carried the rest. Everyone praised the rock star, as she blushed and begged them to eat it and shut up. Hey, there's one left, Jiro said. It's Izuku's, Mina said handing it to him. Bam! He slapped it out of her arm as the food splattered on the ground. Everyone felt from amazed to uncomfortable. He left them dumbfounded, as he put his hood up and walked away to his room. He didn't bother to lock it this time. He knew he enjoyed seeing Mina frightened after what she had done. He was finally close enough to his Ochako but she stopped him. She'll be lucky if I don't stop her heartbeat, that peach twerp, he murmured under his breath. His hood up as it didn't show his purple eyes, his curtains were closed so they were glowing with the slight darkness. He was gritting his teeth and roaming his room passing his All Might action figures but not minding them, not one bit. He was angry beyond anything, his copy didn't need to come out for him to know he needed revenge the most. Aizawa stepped out of his car and slowly walked to the prison Seina was being held and her villain popularity was off the roof. Her quirk was interesting to talk about but the public didn't know about Izuku's problem. Aizawa felt if they did, it would affect his dream to become the world's greatest hero. He stepped in the meeting room seeing Seina's piercing purple eyes. For a heartless villain, she had quite a pretty face. Hello, Eraser, she greeted with no emotion. Anything else, you want to tell me about the aftereffects? He asked bringing out the mint tea he had bought for her. Her eyes looked shocked but she slowly took it. Thanks, I'm thirsty. She stirred it slowly in the white container. What exactly do you want to hear, Eraser? She asked. The effects of the quirk. Why do I feel you didn't tell me something? He asked her. She sighed after drinking the hot tea a bit. My quirk was only repelling light but dash. Aizawa was shocked he finally got it out of her, but he stared mentally noting every word. The reason I got so much money from my mother was because I was Chisaki's test subject, she explained. That's how I got the second one of my quirks, secreting the substance, but I noticed how the people who even accidentally touch too much of the substance turn insane. She crossed her legs and used her fingers to play around the cup as she continued. I did also notice that one person who was able to survive the effects though. How? Aizawa asked. They took the quirk as a quirk, not some kind of illness. She sipped the last of the tea. Time's up. Eraserhead. A female guard got Seina up and lead her away. Aizawa didn't understand a word she said. Take it as a quirk. He sighed in his head and went out to his car. As he opened the door he quickly saw the light around him repel to the gate of the prison. Seina. He tried to SWCH his phone but thanks to Seina's quirk it couldn't work. He used his acquired sense of direction to find his way to the huge doors of the prison. He tried to look for her glowly eyes. If they're open, I can find her, but if they're closed she can't get that far enough for me, he thought as he sensed the room he could hear the mess of guards and the prisoners who took the chance to try and escape. Then he heard the screams of one guard and the little sounds coming from slight flaws of her silent sprints around the room. Ha! The sound she made from jumping in the air. Finally opening her eyes she sent a kick with her left leg on Aizawa's head. He blocked it and opened his eyes to activate his quirk but she was gone, her quirk and her speed. What the hell did Chisaki do to her? He thought as he felt someone hop on his back. She opened her eyes as she backflipped and used his opening to send kick, but it landed this time. He grunted as she ran out the door. He tried to run after her, but before he could get out, she deactivated her quirk and the lights were back, but still no flipping sign of her anywhere. He looked back to see her teaspoon next to her quirk cancellation bracelet. He groaned at letting get her go, but there was nothing to be done. Deku. Ochaco tapped his freckled cheeks. He fell asleep on his bed. Apparently as she woke him up he sighted the alarm clock near 6 p.m. it said. Huh, he was obviously confused. You haven't eaten at all? Ochaco asked him. I am worried. She was obviously calling onto what had happened that morning. Honestly, it was more like Izuku passed out on his bed than fell asleep. He kinked his eyes in confusion. It was confusing to him as they were in his dark room. He could hear the heavy rainfall, probably from the second usage of Seina's quirk. It was worse than before. He sat up his bed. He felt a slight headache in his head. He didn't even remember getting up that day. Then the memories flooded in. Ochaco sat beside him as she stared at him, just silent. He felt his eyes go down in sadness of how he behaved towards Mina. It's all felt like a strange dream. Deku, I'm sorry if we're not helping you with this quirk thing, she apologized. It's just, well, I don't know what to do. She started tearing up as she wiped her tears quickly. It's just that you helped me with the villain and I can't even help you with the effects. Izuku turned to Ochaco, a tear rolling down her cheek. He could hear her whimper. It's not that I am fine. I just needed some sleep. I must have been tired when I did that. Yeah, must be that. He tapped her to comfort her at least a bit. Ochaco wiped her tears and stared at him. It was obvious he was lying. She looked down at her feet and listened to the rain. The dark room was lighted by the lightning that struck about every 2 minutes. I guess I should apologize, he sighed. He liked being near her this much. It just felt great. That's nice of you, she said silently as she got up to leave. Feel better, she said and left. She left to see the girls in the sitting room together. It's really pouring out there, Mina said as she tapped the glass window and sighed. The others just sat as Ochaco joined them. Hey, Uraraka, how's Midoriya doing? Sue asked. As she asked the question everyone looked in desperation for the answer. Of course Mr. Aizawa didn't want anyone knowing about Izuku's case, so he didn't tell the others and told Ochaco and Izuku to keep it a secret from them. He just needed rest, she sighed. Hagakure followed and groaned. I don't know why he got so pestered by you giving him food. A long silence followed after that. Even Momo just used her fingers to play with her long shiny hair. Jiro just hummed a beat she made up last week. Let's play a game, Mina suggested. What? Ochaco lifted her head. Truth or dare, Mina continued. Could be fun, Sue agreed a bit. Alright, I guess, Momo sighed. They shifted their seats closer to each other and started. Mina called being the person to begin the game. Mina hummed in response, truth or dare. Mina put her purple jacket sleeve on her lip and thought, truth. Do you like Kirishima? The frog girl asked as her peach friend's cheeks turned bright red. The blush stopped as she stammered, dare. Then the lights went off all of a sudden, with an awe being heard. Ochaco wasn't even really paying attention till that happened. Momo created a flashlight with her quirk and pointed around with it. The guys were in the game room. Can I use that? Jiro asked, taking the flashlight. I've been learning a bit on electronics, maybe I can fix this. She walked out as Momo created a small lantern and set it on the center table in front of her. In the distance, they could hear probably Jiro dragging Kaminari. Come on Jiro, stop dragging me by the ear, you could have just asked, you know. The girls giggled, but Ochaco, she just slanted by the end of the couch and thought about Izuku. How much that strange purple wasn't him. Hey, guys, nice game. But I'm kind of tired, good night, she waved as she left. She lied down on her bed, faced the wall to try and sleep a bit. I can't sleep this off, she thought as she felt around for her small pink flashlight. It was just on the ground as she picked it up and went out. The rain was even heavier now as the loud thunder came up every once in a while. She went to Izuku's door. Deku, she called silently, for some reason she didn't want anyone knowing she was there. No answer, for some reason it made her heart drop as she knocked a bit louder. Still nothing, she gently opened the door, Deku. The whole room was empty with no one inside. Times Mina, Hagakure, and Tsu followed Jiro and Kaminari. Momo went to bed, she said even with the lights on she was still tired. Wait, after Tsu would have been my turn, right? Hagakure asked. Sure, Mina answered as Jiro and Kaminari opened the electrical box. As Jiro used her earphones as screwdrivers for the circuits as Kaminari gave it a spark every few moments and held the flashlight. Do not take advice from this paragraph, the highest technical know-how I have is using my laptop as a power bank. As the flashlight fell from Kaminari's arm and the only light left was Jiro's and Tsu's phones, Kaminari, Jiro snapped off annoyance. Mina, Hagakure called, being on the other side of the room, truth or dare? Really? Alright, dare, Mina said as she and the two walked away towards the stairs. As they saw the flashlight roll off past the dorms as Hagakure picked it up and opened the doors and threw it outside. Ha, the two exclaimed. Go get it, the invisible girl said. Mina laughed, challenge accepted, she declared and ran out. I don't know, Toru, you sure this is a good idea? Of course, the three jumped in the rain as they but Tsu giggled. As the rain drizzled now, the frog girl shouted, you guys maybe we should head back. Tsu felt weird and for some reason she felt a presence. The glowing purple eyes rushed for the pink girl. Mina, the frog girl pulled her tongue out as she screamed and grabbed the pink girl. Ah, she shouted as she saw the eyes that charged for her position. Ah! The screams of someone else was heard. Hagakure. Toru. The figure must have missed Mina and gotten who was in front of her, Hagakure. The purple eyes that were seen before faded and the figure ran off into the darkness. As Tsu dropped Mina from her tongue, she grabbed Hagakure slowly and rushed back inside. Izuku used his one for all and jumped back to his room. What have I done? Mina sat on the bench in the hospital room. Squeaky, the moved her body against the jungle wood seat next to the hospital bed. After Toru's injury they rushed her to the nearest hospital. It's only this morning that Mr. Aizawa would tell everyone the situation at hand. Mina's heart almost fell from the holds of her lungs when Toru groaned in her sleep. All she could see was the hospital cloth and the bed formed in Toru's shape. Mina played with her pastel scarf and stared at the hospital curtains. It's all my fault, she thought as she blinked back, the tears forming in her eyes. Even though watching Toru in good condition so far gave her a good feeling, she dreaded seeing that awful creature. But she swore that the thing stared at her. She saw it, its vengeful eyes. She felt it, it made her heart jump. But it must have not seen Toru. Was this supposed to be some kind of relief? If it was, not for Mina, she patted her chest as if it would calm her heart down. The rain had fully stopped now, the dim sun matched the puddles. Mina sighed, oh, I call myself a hero but my friend gets injured, but I was she held back the tears again. The room was silent again as Mina fell a bit asleep on the small bench she was on. Mina, a voice was heard, it sounded like it needed a glass of water. As she looked up to see Toru sit up she hugged it tightly. What happened? Toru asked, scratching her head. Mina wanted to explain everything but as she opened her mouth she felt her words go back in, she still felt guilty. But then all the memories came flooding back in for Toru. She groaned when she touched her tummy slightly, the thing stabbed her stomach. The injury was almost vital, thank God she survived. The bandages she wore covered her entire midsection. The room was silent as Mina was speechless for her being alive. She quickly texted Mr. Aizawa that she was alive, then she sighed and talked to her friend. Times Izuku could barely get sleep, he just kept groaning and now he had a splitting headache. He decided to rest when he heard that Toru was rushed to the hospital by overhearing Tsu. He knew Mr. Aizawa would break down the news to everyone this morning. He started tearing up, he was half scared they'd catch him, Ochako would never forgive him. He was also scared of Toru dying, but he was also scared that these aftereffects were getting the best out of him. He played with the curls at the back of his head. The feelings he felt lately scare him, but they're inside him, how should he get it out of himself? He groaned loudly, the morning sun stung his eyes, he'd spent the entire night wandering around his room or trying to sleep every hour. All he could think about was Ochako, would she ever forgive him? The thought of his hero career didn't even pass his mind. He gasped and blinked to see he just hallucinated. I'm going nuts. He wiped the sweat off his forehead. He thought back, he needed a solution. Fast. He still dreaded the thought of Ochako being near anyone else. He still wanted her, he still needed her. He thought deeper, wasn't there a cure for this? He knew that after Mr. Aizawa consoled the students that he would go for a press conference. About Seina escaping and why he hid Izuku's illness. Mr. Aizawa tried his best to hide the name of the student from them, but he couldn't at the conference. He can't escape that question. Izuku knew he needed to talk to Seina, but where could he find her? His thoughts were paused by the alert from his phone. News, Eraserhead's press conference held in 10 minutes. Ha! Izuku exclaimed loudly, it was 7:20 a.m. Were they crazy for doing it this early? He sighed as he calmed himself down, he knew how much of a danger the press would be to him. They could even ban him from the hero course, not that it would be his fault, but he was too much of danger at that time. Not that you care about the hero course, the copy said as he hovered laughing. What do you know about it? Izuku asked coldly. Everything. The copy laughed harder. I'm inside of you after all. Izuku just growled at the sayings of the thing. Of course, because of Seina's escape they could link her to Taurus's attack. You don't care for the hero course anymore, do you? The copy said over Izuku's thoughts, only for Uraraka. Izuku almost choked on his copy's words, it was like he shoved them down his throat. He was right though, the only reason he had done something so vile was for her. You've done so much, don't let her go midway, the copy advises. Izuku held his ears, but it made the voice just echo in his head. He wasn't going to stop midway, he needed Ochako now. His phone beeped one more message. It was an alert now. The copy vanished into thin air. Izuku used his trembling arm to pick up his phone. School will resume tomorrow, try to get things back even with the short time. The message was from Mr. Aizawa. He sent it to the entire class, though the phone beeped again except Midoriya. That extension stung, he probably wanted to check on whether he was okay before unleashing him onto the school. Izuku felt his heart crack a bit, he got injured being a hero and saving Uraraka, but it wasn't her fault. He didn't blame Seina either, but seriously Mr. Aizawa was in charge of them, but Nijire took over, so he blamed him a bit. DMN this bullshit of a hero course. He flung his phone from his hands, making it smash against the wall. The screen broke a bit, but what did Izuku care? After letting me off, these BSTRDS still ban me from my dream, he swore in his head. Well, they're not taking Ochako from me. He suddenly felt dizzy as he came back to his normal self. He went out of his room to meet everyone in the dining room watching the press conference on Momo's phone. Apparently Bakugo put the TV on fire after vexing over where the light SWCH was. Ochako sat on the edge of the couch staring at the window. Her oversized pastel gray sweater that fell from her shoulders, shorts and pink slippers were so perfect for the gloomy weather. But the sweater was awfully light because of its age, but she dare not wear the purple jacket she had, it made her feel insecure. Izuku blushed when he saw her though, he didn't know why. When she looked back she crept away and met him in the hallway. They were alone there, she let out a breath. I was worried about you last night, so I went to your room, but you weren't there, she said with all her confidence. She had an awful theory that Izuku tried to murder Toru, but she just shook it off, it just couldn't be. She waited for a response. Of course Lida announced the bad news since Mr. Aizawa left so early for the conference. Do you think I did it? Izuku asked as the purple came back. Now his hair was dark green but the shade hadn't changed for a while now. And no, she stammered as she started to tear up. They were at the end of the hall and really close to the elevator. Izuku cleaned her tears and sighed, acting sad himself. I wouldn't do that, he lied. Ochako whimpered, but it sounded like, I know. But anyone who tries to take you from me will regret it. He ran his fingers through her brown hair slowly. It tickled when he slowly ran it through her neck. How, she giggled nervously as her cute red blush glowed. I'll find my way. His finger touched the back of her ear. If you know you don't want me doing anything, then try to stay away from them or else they'll pay for it. He smirked as Ochako's blushing smiling face was a little confused. He leaned in as he kissed her softly. She wrapped her arms around his neck as he wrapped his at her waist. They released blushing at each other as Ochako noticed the purple in his eyes. She let go of him slowly, pretending like she didn't notice a thing. That purple thing scares me, she thought to herself. Why do I feel like something's wrong? As the purple faded away, Izuku blushed even more as they walked back to the dining room. Mina was back as she was happier. She's alive. Toru's alive, she shouted happily. She'd left really early. It had been only 47 minutes since Tenya told them. Everyone smiled in joy as Mina ran over to hug Ochako. Izuku growled to himself as Ochako hugged back. I guess I'll kill off the problem. Mr. Aizawa tugged at his white collar, looking at his red tie and black suit that covered his skinny neck. He was standing beside Vlad King, Class 1B's teacher, who didn't look tensed at all. Mr. Aizawa sighed. He hated the press and the questions they asked and how they tried to make you leak something dangerous out to them. He was more interested in Seina's case. He had no clue where she was. She could be teaming up with the League of Villains, he thought as he scratched his head, making his high ponytail a bit messy. As their cue to come out came, the entire of UA's staff took on their calmest faces for the press that came up to them with questions. Eraserhead, how long have you known about this child's case? A voice asked. Eraserhead, what do you plan to do about Seina Kurayami's prison escape case? A man asked. Eraserhead, do you think Seina Kurayami is linked to the League of Villains? A lady with a bun shining with too much hair gel asked. Of course he did. He cleared his throat. Yes, I knew of the child's case, and Seina's escape was a case that was unplanned and my fault. So is the child's dilemma, but I am doing my best to solve all I can, Eraserhead confessed as after his speech more questions still came. Meanwhile, a few blocks away in an alleyway, Toga and Twice stood waiting. I bored, Toga groaned as Twice searched online constantly. Wow. Her quirks just like Boss said. He shoved his phone back in his pocket. Toga's oversized burnt orange hoodie barely covered her glowing. Blushed. I'm excited to have a girl on the team. Twice scratched his black hoodie. Geez Toga, keep screaming like that in an alley and we'll be screaming behind bars. As he said that, before the biased blonde could nag, a figure jumped from the near rooftop. She slowly lifted herself up as her black leather jumpsuit highlighted her shiny black hair that was in a high ponytail. Her deep purple eyes immediately laid on Twice as Toga stared in awe. Hey, her voice was so awesomely chilling to the two. Seina, it's you. Toga greeted, but the realistic response would have been duh. Seina didn't know why she escaped, but as she saw that chance in front of her face she grabbed it. She wasn't a lost woman who'd wander back to the prison in shame, as if she was on her own, as she'd escape when the League of Villains called her and said that they'd like her to join. Well, they did expect a big, fat no, but she agreed. She needed a name of her own now. She didn't know where she was going, but it felt like right now she needed a family, not a prison who told them she didn't know what she did to Izuku. She didn't feel bad about it, but she didn't feel good either. The smooth and cold morning breeze showed a little sign of the rain of last night. The kids stomped and played in the puddles on the streets as Seina thought with the short silence. Yes, she was going to do this. The League of Villain offered her a family to trust. So Seina, you're ready to meet Boss? Twice asked her, her eyes showing no emotion for some reason highlighted the smirk on her face. The three walked back to the abandoned warehouse where the League hid Toga, and Twice opened the door for the new member as her eyes met Shigaraki's. You're the Seina, right? He asked. Greetings. Her eyes shifted from him as she looked around the warehouse. It was kind of clean and kind of dirty. Toga sat down on a big table as Twice just laid his back against the wall near. She hummed in response. I'll join. Why? He asked. Do you want to fight the world back for shawning you or condemn the hero world? Not that I'm fighting for that, actually I don't want to tell you. All you need to know is that I'm joining your group. Her eyes met his. He tried to give her a menacing look but her body showed no reaction. Shigaraki smiled. Welcome to the League of Villains, he greeted. Thanks, she smirked, already having a plan that needed action. Good thing I can repay it. Toga and twice hummed in unison of confusion. She pulled out her phone as she clicked on Mr. Aizawa's press conference online as if on cue. The student is Izuku Midoriya. The league all stared at the phone in her hands as she showed the three. I think this boy needs something from us like we need from him. Her sentences were now ended in giggles. Kind of cute ones. She really made her name ironic. Sometimes her seinen name meant innocent. When she was young, people always thought that her empty expression was cute, so they gave her the name. Now the face is more. Bruh, did you see that? I almost cared. The three stared, as Toga's was mixed with confusion and excitement. They clearly couldn't wait for the plans. Izuku shook off the feeling as he apologized to Mina and everyone but headed back to his room. He couldn't deal with this anymore, this longing. Longing to kill, longing to destroy, longing for Ochaco. It was getting out of hand. He needed to control it. He sat up on his bed and pulled out his phone and went online to Mr. Aizawa's live press conference. So who's the infected student? A voice was heard asking Mr. Aizawa. Mr. Aizawa gulped a bit but he couldn't let the press see a fall in his breath as he said, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku's eyes felt teary at seeing his sensei's lips move, saying his name as a response to the question. His ears felt heavier from hearing his name called out to the press conference being viewed around the world. He knew what the next statement would be. Young Midoriya is going to be taken care for and is temporarily banned from the hero course, All Might said sadly. No, he whispered to himself as he wiped his eyes with the tears threatening to shed. He stayed in his room for long. What am I going to do? He thought. He was a danger to his friends. He wasn't even good enough to be a hero. He wore a black hoodie. It looked a bit big as he put on black briefs and shoes. He was a danger to everyone. He had to. He opened his balcony doors as he activated his quirk. No you don't. He felt all his depression and agony hold him down. It felt like all his reasoning was chained down all of a sudden. He groaned as his eyes turned purple and his hair black. His pained expression suddenly turned into an evil smirk. He jumped off his balcony, into the night. He'd been in his room all day. Everyone thought he needed alone time so they left him be. Now his watch beeped as it flashed 9 p.m. He jumped off his balcony then up. Was it him or longing? Ochaco's hair was a bit messy as she slept. She heard a knock on her balcony door. She stood up slowly and switched on her lamp. Her black tank top and white shorts shone with the full moon. She opened the balcony door to see Izuku there smiling as he came closer to her with his smirk growing wider into a devilish smile. Ochaco was confused until she saw the purple eyes that shone in her kind of dark room. He stepped forwards towards her as she backed away from him, quivering. She'd been hiding this question ever since she'd seen this dark side of him. Who are you? Izuku Midoriya. Why? He stepped faster to her, making her spine shiver. He pinned her on her bed. Why, you're not Deku, she hissed kind of loudly. He pouted as he laid his lips on her soft ones. This isn't Deku. He'd never do this, she thought. It gave her some comfort. He released as he smirked at her cute blush. He put his hand on her cheek and used his other hand to snake around her waist. He kissed her from her jawline to her neck. He left love's bites and hickeys on her neck as she groaned. He gave her another kiss but more passionately as he played with the hair behind her ear. There, now I'm satisfied, he said with the most evil chuckle. He stopped as his eyes looked like he would pass out. They turned back to forest green. He looked around with his aching head. He looked like he'd woken from the worst nightmare. Deku, he noticed the brunette he was on top as he quickly got off her. What have I done? He slid his body down the wall as he whispered, I'm so sorry. Why? Ochaco got beside him and rubbed his shoulder. If you think I'm mad, I'm not. He stared at her as she reasoned. That person had purple eyes, you have green eyes now. Uraraka, it could be Kurayami's quirk, maybe she. Uraraka, he shouted at her, making her shut her mouth and pay attention. You don't understand, it was me. That thing was longing. he's the embodiment of all I want. He bit his bottom lip in frustration. If I wasn't so naive I wouldn't have injured Hagakure, and now this. He pointed to the purple marks on Ochaco's neck. Her brain paused at his statement. You tried to kill Hagakure. I asked you, did you lie to me? She asked him. I did. I'm sorry. He covered his face with his hands. You are longing. She thought. No, we can fix it. She suggested. No, he's me. All he's done is what I've wanted to do. I am him. He stood up. I won't let you get hurt because of my selfishness. Goodbye, Uraraka, huh? No, wait, she shouted after him as he activated his one for all. The night breeze blew his dark green hair as he turned back. Goodbye. He jumped out of the balcony. Deku, she called as tears fell down her eyes. No. Ochako looked around her room. Her eyes felt weird from all the crying of last night. She stared at her alarm clock that kept beeping and vibrating, annoying. She switched it off. She got off as she touched the hickeys on her neck and blushed. She quickly put on a pink turtleneck that was lying around. She'd reported to Mr. Aizawa immediately after the incident. He asked her quick questions before checking around the city for Izuku. She walked out of her room to see Bakugo standing in the corner. He was probably lost in thought. She sighed. Seriously, the scariest person appears when she's shaking. She walked past him silently. He usually ignores her. Uraraka. He called her by her name. She looked back. Yeah, she responded. What about Deku? Is that idiot doing fine? He asked. Yeah, calling her boyfriend an idiot did make her feel insulted. He stared at her brown eyes, which made her feel tense. She sighed and walked past him as he just said, whatever. She went to the schoolyard to get some fresh air as she saw someone that made her jump. Deku. She saw the boy wave at her. She ran to hug him. I thought you'd never come back. He hugged her back. What about longing? She asked him as he looked back at her brown eyes. Well, I've suppressed him. It's going to be fine for a while. His words made her so happy. She stared at the forest green eyes to make sure it was Izuku. She hugged him tighter as his smirk grew times 9 hours ago. Izuku walked down the road. He thought he'd feel relieved, but he just felt worse. He closed his eyes trying to calm down a bit. Seriously, you let her go? Just like that, the copy shouted. Izuku opened his eyes to see he was in a forest. The trees' leaves were lavender and stems were a dark purple color. He could barely see anything else. The purple mist made it too hard and it scented evil and of lilacs and lavender. He saw his evil copy hovering beside him. I'm getting really tired of your denial. I did it so she can be safe from you, he shouted as Chain flew and grabbed his right arm. He tugged at it, not really realizing that he activated his quirk. As the second attack grabbed his left arm, his copy came up in front of him with a devilish look. As the third and fourth chains grabbed his legs, he looked down and saw the chains came from deep down the ground. Why would we hurt her? She's ours. We just have to make sure of that. He laughed. He walked towards his host. He held the real Izuku's chin as his green hair and eye color transferred to him. He stepped back laughing. He waved his hand as goodbye, disappearing. Now I'm in control. He laughed. No, Izuku groaned. This felt like a nightmare. The copy stepped out of the alley and stopped at a clothes shop. He stared at a mirror in front of him. As he saw his new green look, he chuckled as he walked away. Izuku watched Ochako be deceived by his copy. He could see everything like a daydream, but he knew that it was happening. The chains held Izuku down as he tried to break them. They somehow held him tighter. The scent of lilacs were like they mixed with the oxygen. No, Ochako, he screamed as he tried his best to fight against it. He remembered how longing fought him in his mind about the running away issue. He must have used Izuku's confused emotions to finally take control of him. Darn longing, he mumbled as tugged his chains. Darn me, why? He asked. I've finally taken over and gotten your green look, and I'll do all you want, all we want. The copy's form didn't come, but the voice was heard. It was in a forest, but it somehow echoed. Ugh, of course, you're the pure longing. This is all you are. You're smarter than I thought. He spat at him. We really desired the hero course, a dream to save people, but who saved us? Izuku felt his heart break a bit. His hero All Might did save him. Yes, he did. That's how they know each other closely, but then again, who else has saved him after that? He kept silent as the copy's laughs echoed. About Ochako called Mr. Aizawa to stop the search. That Izuku came home, only the three of them knew about Izuku's running away. Wait. Are all the problems solved? Just like this? Ochako felt this feeling that something was off, that this was the moment to fix something that can affect a huge part of your life. But how could it be? What part of it could she miss? Well, she missed the part that her real Izuku was chained inside his mind and all his multiplied dark emotions were staring at her with love with longing. Dinner was ready but Izuku wasn't there. Ochako decided to give him personal space but he had to eat something. Uraraka, she heard someone call her. Oh Bakugo, she responded. How's he doing now, he asked her. Fine, I'm going to check on him now, she said as she noticed he was looking at her neck confused about something. She felt her neck wondering what it was, then she gasped a bit. The hickey. Ah, she shook a bit noticing the whole class staring at the marks on her neck. I know who gave her those, Mina whispered. She just giggled feeling awkwardness as she ran down the hallway as everyone stared. She left and knocked on his door, she heard a startled sound. Something's wrong, Izuku's POV. Why did longing leave when Ochako came, is it 'cause she calms me down? Whatever way I shouldn't bother her with this, any of this. Ochako, please, just please. Go, I just said it, I didn't want longing to use me being upset to take me over, he might hurt her again. You know I can't, she was so persistent but in every story if they leave the victim alone it turns up bad. Besides, the worst things happen when no one's looking. She gently put her hand on the door. Izuku, please, let me help you, you can't keep hiding this, let's just talk, she said in a calming voice, nothing more nothing less. I couldn't let her stay out there so I opened the door. We sat on my bed, as we just blushed. So be truthful, how do you feel, she asked me. Where was I going to start? I was just quiet, I couldn't put my feelings into words. I just stuttered. I love you, I didn't even feeling my own lips move for those last two words. Was longing just messing with me? I blushed as I could feel my ears get red too. She stared at me, I saw her brown eyes shine with the evening sun rays that passed through the balcony doors, I couldn't look away. I heard his stupid laughter at the back of my head. I love you too, she answered with red on her too. Izuku, she started, did you love me before this, she asked me. I felt this feeling in my chest, but I immediately knew that having her in my room would make me even more unstable, longing might hurt her again but I couldn't let her go. Third POV, he grabbed her by her arm closer to him, her blush stained her cheeks, she panicked when she saw his purple eyes again, his black hair flung in front of her eyes. Deku, this isn't you, she got back away from him. What do you mean? This is me Deku, he held her by her wrists and pulled her for a kiss. Why you're not Izuku, she shouted at him, stop it. Let her go, they heard a voice at the door. Bakugo, the brunette looked back seeing him, who was glaring at Izuku. He must have noticed the blaring purple eyes by now. Bakugo quickly pulled her away from him as he held her hand, so this is the other side of him Sensei talked about, Bakugo thought, UBSTRD this definitely wasn't Izuku or Izuku's voice, it was obvious especially to Ochako. Round face, get to safety. Bakugo told her. No. Stop. The two of you, she shouted from behind the blonde. Everyone wants to take her from me. I won't let you, he screamed at him as his quirk activated, the green lightning slowly started sparking lavender of some sort, but still green. I'll end you. Bakugo ran through the hall as Izuku charged for him, what are you two doing? Stop this, she ran to the two. He deserves to be taught a lesson, Izuku or longing snarled at Bakugo. Izuku threw his fist at him, AP shot. Bakugo jumped back and shot at him. The building shook a bit, you think that's gonna take me down? Izuku appeared through the smoke as he charged for Bakugo in the air, the blonde dodged as Izuku slid on the floor. Ochako rushed in between them, please stop, she didn't even shout this time. Sorry sweetheart, but he doesn't deserve me to stop, Izuku stood beside her as Bakugo ran to him, his guard was down. Izuku threw a punch at him when he was near, he dodged but the pressure in the air threw him out of the building, breaking the wall. No. Ochako ran to the broken wall, he looked fine. Enough. I wanted revenge from the start, I can't have you interfering, I'm sorry, he threw her at the wall behind them, gah, her back hit the wall, she could barely move, but she kept trying to stand, she couldn't let any of this happen. Sorry, I'll heal you when I'm done with him. He jumped down the building, having his eyes on the blonde who was in his fighting stance already. I don't care whether you were hit with a quirk or whatever it is, what you did to Invisible was unforgivable. He and Izuku glared at each other. I'll kill you, he heard a chuckle. What makes a twerp like you think it can do that? Izuku looked into Bakugo's eyes. This quirk amplified my powers and I was already better than you. Izuku charged at him as Bakugo dodged. Each dodged landed with another AP shot. Even being in Izuku's way was dangerous enough, learned from the wall. Bakugo's breathing was heavier. As the smoke cleared it revealed Izuku with several scratches on him. You think that's gonna do anything on me? He charged at him as Bakugo dodged and grabbed him by his jacket's hood and threw him at the wall. With his guard down he threw several blasts at him. The smoke was much as Bakugo looked at where the boy landed. It was quiet. "Ya DMN nerd," he said to himself, as he was about to carry the boy to get him some help. He felt someone grip his arm and throw a punch at him. He landed on the hard ground. Izuku snickered a bit. "You almost got me there, Kaken, now I got you." Bakugo used his remaining strength to stand up. He held his arm. It was broken from landing on it from the Bizarro attack. "I'm still not out," he said to the purple-eyed boy. "Not a single form of green, not a single form of sympathy." Izuku snickered again. All of this felt enjoyable for him. "Do you think this is kindergarten, Kaken? Do you think I'm a weak speck that can F off anytime? No, people change but you haven't." Still as useless, hothead and given too much credit as before, his face turned to a serious one. "Well, dead people never change, you wanna join them?" "AP shot," he shouted. He made the blast stronger this time. But Izuku charged at him. As the blonde shot another at him, he jumped over him and landed behind him, throwing a punch at the air, but the pressure threw Bakugo at the wall of the building making it shake. "I could have punched you straight on back there but I wanted to make you really feel the pain." He stepped on his chest putting more pressure on his foot. The cracks were obviously from his ribcage. He screamed in pain as Izuku just laughed. He heard some kind of an air attack coming from behind him. He dodged as he felt the wind and Bakugo's body was taken. He hissed at it. As he looked at who did that, the attack was from Jiro's amplifiers and Tenya just had to be born and take Bakugo before Izuku finished his work. He noticed everyone in his class, staring in disbelief. Midoriya, Tenya's eyes looked like he wanted to reverse time and never let this happen. "Why? Why would you do this?" Mina screamed from the crowd, standing near Tenya. "I didn't want to." "I did, I wanted to destroy him." "No I didn't." His voice changed and changed back as he held his head like he was going crazy. He couldn't be let near anyone. He jumped across the building as he got in the roof. He ran off into the city. Ochako groaned as she stood, watching him go. No. She activated her quirk wanting to go after him but she felt tape wrapped around her arm holding her. "That's not safe." She heard the voice of her teacher. "We need to talk," he told her. As Tenya and the Momo helped Recovery Girl with Bakugo's case. He was still breathing thank goodness but he only had minutes left if they didn't heal him fast. As he groaned he felt himself acknowledged why he fought for more than his feud with Izuku. The truth flooded through his head. "I love you, Uraraka, times. Why did you do that? We could have killed them all." Izuku stopped to catch his breath. He remembered all that he did, how heartless it was. He felt his sanity roll out of his mind. Longing was back. As a billboard showing the latest news flashed, footage of Seina Kurayumi joining the League of Villains. Their whereabouts are still unknown. He couldn't be bothered about that. She made him this way but she's the only one who knows how to make him normal again. His eyes turned purple. She must die with that secret. "I'll take what's mine." Izuku ran across another building. "Not here." He was getting impatient here. The wind blew his black hair as he heard an annoying laugh coming from a near alley. "Toga, would you stop it?" Seina shouted a bit. "We can't get caught because you couldn't pull this off," she said to the blonde who pouted. "Meanie." Izuku watched closer seeing a body in front of them. Longing couldn't care less about Seina. He just needed to make sure that she was dead so the cure to well him would die with her, then doing everything else would be a lot easier. He noticed there was a pause. The two weren't moving. They knew he was there. Toga turned and threw a knife at him as he caught it. "Thank you." He jumped down as he threw Toga at the wall making her pass out from the impact. He clenched the knife in his hand as he turned to Sena. So. You want to know how to fix it, don't you? She stared at him, maybe deep down by now she finally felt sorry for what she did. Actually the opposite of that, you're the only one who knows how to get rid of me. If you're alive, the truth's alive, but if you're dead the truth is gone. Get rid of him. Oh, so I'm speaking to the copy, be grateful that I gave you the chance to speak. He launched at her as he was about to stab her. She jumped behind him, but as she turned around she felt someone grab her arm and toss her to a wall. She suddenly felt dizzy. Longing wanted to throw a punch, finishing the job until he heard the footsteps of someone. That sounds like him, Mina. We can't be sure, but over here, Longing grunted. Them being here didn't mean anything. He looked down at Sena who had passed out. He raised the knife as he slit her throat and left her to bleed to death. He went deeper into the alleyway. And shut his glowing purple eyes, which were the only way they could detect him. Todoroki. I think they're itch. Mina screeched, seeing Sena in a growing pool. What? Shoto stopped in his tracks. He brought out his small walkie-talkie from his belt. Sensei, we've found Kurayami, but she needs help. Mina looked around her, feeling her anxiety grow. Longing just smirked as he jumped to the roof. There he is. Shoto spotted him. Midoriya, stop him. Izuku ran quicker, jumping from one roof to another. Taking out Sena wasn't his only plan, he just needed to find the other piece. He felt someone kick his back, making him tumble onto a street. For a late morning the streets were a little too empty. He looked up to see the one he was looking for, Ochaco. He smirked a bit. Deku, please tell me that you didn't mean to do that to Kurayami. It's all been reported, everyone in the class knows but for me. Just say it was all Longing, please. Say it. She looked angry at herself and sad. His hair and eyes went back to green. I can't, Uraraka, I'm him. I wanted all of this. I did all of this. Izuku stood back up with a sad expression. No, please just say it was Longing. I know it, you know it. She put something back into her belt. She didn't want him to be in trouble, but she'd reported that she'd spotted him before the scene. She never wanted to make that mistake again. She hugged him. You're Deku, you'd never do this. She squeezed him tighter, making him blush. He pulled something up to her neck. As she saw it she pushed him away, but he pinned her down. Stop it, she shouted as the needle went into her neck before she passed out. Sleep tight. She heard him chuckle as the blurry image of his hair turning back to black was what she saw before passing out. Sena, ugh, again, she promised not to do this. Author, I did not. Izuku, it's been months since you've posted. Ochaco, yeah, and isn't leaving the book in such a cliffhanger kinda rude. Author, Sena, and the last chapter sounds like Bolton. Y. Here's writing a lemon. Izu and Oka, lemon. Author backs away in defense. For the cute, innocent Cinnamon's reading, a lemon is a SXL story. And for the Cinnamon's reading, I ain't doing that CRPN or SHT, but no matter how dark-sided you are, I'm sure you're great people except you, Siwa, you know who you are. Author, no. Someone has to pay me before I write that thing. Sena, I think a lot of readers are really into that thing, maybe they're expecting it. Author, why are they expecting that? Izuku, well, then this chapter is to let you know that author here will not write a lemon. Author, but anything else you want, you can message me. Sorry if I don't respond or I forget. Honestly, there is something wrong with me. Everyone, thanks for reading, reader. Izuku sat down in his own mind as the purple trees rustled from the cold wind. Good thing he was wearing a jacket. Longing blocked my vision. How the heck does he even do that? He thought. The last thing he wanted was for Ochaco to get hurt. He couldn't think of why he would block his vision though. Izuku would remember where he took Ochaco. They did share the same memories. He sighed. It's funny, isn't it? Now I'm the emotion. He laughed as his guilt blocked whatever reasoning he had. It is funny. Izuku almost snarled when the copy formed in front of him. Why would you do this? He shouted. Don't you know you're hurting her? Hurting her. Izuku, I tried my best to tell you to make her ours but you didn't want to. Then I tried taking over to make sure she's ours but you didn't want me to. Now I'm in control and you say I'm hurting her. He shouted at him as the chain squeezed his limbs even tighter as he winced in pain. Longing's look changed back to a smirk. You can't possibly think what you're doing is right, he asked as the copy didn't let the chain's grip get any loosened. Right. I'm only doing what you want. He stared at him. Well, I want you to let her go, he shouted. That's not all. A part of you doesn't want that, huh? I don't want that. Izuku even looked more puzzled. Izuku, I thought you were smarter than this, he sighed. Do you really think a little pitiful emotion would be able to have almost full control of your body? Izuku's expression turned into a fearful one. I'm not that emotion anymore, we're two halves in the same body, I'm just the one suppressing you. He laughed as his eyes glowed the same purple color. As you said, it is funny. Ochaco woke up as the pain at the back of her head hit her like a ton of bricks. She groaned as for a moment she couldn't remember where she was or who she was. She turned to face the ceiling as she noticed the pair of arms around her waist. As she turned she saw Izuku sleeping next to her, but she'd rather say longing. She groaned as he opened his eyes. His tired expression turned to a happy smile in a nanosecond. Ochaco, you're awake. He squeezed her tighter. Longing, she said as the memories flooded back. Deku, she whispered, remembering everything that had happened. He kissed her cheek as she snapped out of her thoughts. What dash, she heard him laugh. Izuku's trying to take control again. Does he think I'll hurt you? Why would I hurt you? He smiled as he held her. For some reason she couldn't process anything that was happening. All she could wish for was Izuku to come back. She needed to save him from himself. Get away from me, she shouted as she pushed him away. Longing, why did you bring me here? Where am I? She said, looking around the room. I brought you here because the others would try to take you from me, he said, smiling. From you? I'm not something that you can possess. She felt him hold her again as he leaned in as she blushed. I wouldn't say I possess or own you, but you are mine, he said with his eyes glowing brighter. I just had to make sure of that, he said as she noticed she couldn't get out of his grip this time. You can't do this, she said, thinking, it's a risky move. He's gotten stronger, but it might be the only chance, she thought as she used her quirk on him. He looked down to see a sudden glow of pink. He felt light and started floating as she got out of his grip and ran out the room. That's a bit rude, Ochaco, he said using his quirk. I don't even need you to release me. He smiled as he hopped on the ceiling and charged after her. She didn't know where she was, but guessing helped her at the moment when she found the living room. She knew the front door would be locked, which can't explain why she tried to open it. She pulled out something, not knowing that longing was charging for her. She was pinned on the wall beside the door. Ochaco, after saying you're mine, you try to escape, he said with a disappointed tone in his voice. She tried struggling, but he had a strong grip of her wrists. Of course I did, she said, not getting any closer to him. I can't just stay here. Besides, I found it the best way to save Deku from you. He stayed quiet like he was processing those words. Save him. How could I hurt him? He said, like chaining him up wasn't scarring. Just let me go. She ignored his question. So you can try to escape again. I don't think I want that. He noticed something in her hand. Ochaco, he shouted, grabbing the pin from her. Hey, she tried to take it back, but he held both her wrists with one of his hands now. Longing gritted his teeth in frustration. I don't understand, you can't just have a pin on you all the time. He tried to reason. Did you know I would dash? I didn't. I have that with me since my parents were fond of changing the locks in our house. It wasn't that much of a good neighborhood. I would often get locked out, so I bought it. Longing hummed in response. It did seem true. Well, I'll take it. I don't want you holding things like this. He felt around her looking for anything extra. I already took your phone and devices, but I'd rather be safe. He smiled as she struggled again. He smiled as he let her go. I'm not yours, you know. Don't you think a human would at least need a choice? You do get a choice, but if you get caught you'll stay with me. If you don't and you get back to UA, I might not take it so lightly, he said, hugging her. Whatever I need to do, it doesn't matter. I just have to get Izuku back. One is the same. Ochaco's POV. I just realized how little I do this. Let's change that. I sat on the couch looking at my own feet, honestly, completely lost in thought. What have I gotten him into? I thought of all those times when Izuku gave me signs of this, the times when he couldn't even hide it behind a smile. How can I be this selfish? Even now he's still fighting it to protect me, even though I couldn't even help him. I didn't report anything to Mr. Aizawa. I had a chance to help him after he got in this mess because of me, and I still couldn't help. No, I could have, and I know it. My thoughts stopped as I saw someone sit beside me by the corner of my eye. Ochaco, you look really tense, is something wrong? He asked. Well, it's not like I was having a panic attack, I scoffed as I faced him. I don't see why you're either expecting me to be calm or happy. Actually, I'm expecting both. Why is that? I looked him dead in the eye. You kidnapped me after possibly killing my friend. He paused. He literally started it. I stared at him. By what? Helping me get away from you. He sighed as he closed his eyes. This was always a hopeless topic for him. No, he opened them, still seeing the hostile expression on my face. He came closer to me. He tried to take you away from me. His persuasive look turned into an arrogant expression. I froze as I shook my head in denial, is what longing would call it. It was the expression Tenya gave when he just barely got Bakugo out of the way, after all. It made me think of maybe if I would have just killed you, but I wanted you to really feel the pain. What if? It was too late. He barely looked alive when they were taking him away. I felt him pull me into a hug. I know you think I should have left you to see if they were alive or not, but I couldn't. What if they took the chance to take you away from me? I rested my hand on his chest. No chance getting out of this one. Why so tight anyway? I felt my mouth open and say the first thought in my head. Then you deal with it. I'm not something to have. My voice sounded like I was about to cry. I just can't believe I hurt Izuku so much. I was shivering but not crying. No way I would let him see me cry. He pulled away a bit, probably to see if I was okay. He's not hurt. I don't know why you keep saying that. He was still holding my shoulders. He looked away for a bit, as if thinking of how to put things into words. I'm only giving him what he wants. All that denial was getting in the way. Isn't that just you forcing on what he doesn't want? I said. Doesn't want, huh? Trust me, there's more he wants from you. I couldn't ignore that but tried. But don't worry, when I've taken care of all his denial, I'll be sure to do the rest. Okay, I couldn't ignore that. I blushed, as I looked away from him. Normally, I'd think my denial would be enough to stop this, but with the amount of times he pinned me on a bed says otherwise. I pushed him away when he loosened his grip. I didn't bother making eye contact with him. I noticed that he was silent. I didn't want to look at him, but my curiosity apparently wanted to. I saw him looking at the window the couch was right next to. He suddenly grabbed me by my arm and leapt backward when an explosion shattered window. I coughed as I noticed the figure coming out of the smoke as longing practically snarled. I broke out of his grip as I looked around. My eyes caught the figure. It was obvious because of the hero costume, but seeing him, I couldn't help smiling at knowing that at least my worries were for nothing. He was alright, really okay. Round face, he shouted, getting to me before longing could grab me again. As I saw his eyes turn to a darker shade, I didn't know what to even do. It's like it's a hobby for you. I'm going to make sure your heart stops beating this time, he shouted as, we'll see how you get the chance. Nerd's copy jumped out from where he came from, meeting up with a Shoto running towards them. I got your message, Bakugo. He stopped, not even catching his breath. He must have been nearby. Take round face back to UA. I'll take care of the nerd, but wait, no. Just go. You helping with fighting here is too much to fall on. I didn't know what to do but listen to him. Todoroki bent down as I got on his back. Even if floating's a nice way to escape, in some cases Todoroki's ice seemed a lot faster. I looked back to see longing glaring at Todoroki as he blocked Bakugo's attack. I looked forward, seeing that we were nowhere close to anywhere I knew. I wondered how Izuku and Bakugo were having things. I didn't even realize how my own being was my least priority right now. Tenya walked down the hall beside his teacher. He should have been patrolling with Bakugo and the rest of the class searching for Ochaco, but he felt that meeting the person who last saw the hero, criminal and still somehow the victim, could help them know where he could have taken her. Tenya was uneasy. It was my duty to aid my classmates. I promised I would, but I let this get so out of hand. How could I? He sighed and started counting the numbers on the doors. 29, 30, 31. He stopped in front of the door with his teacher now in front of him. This was his last option of reasoning. If Seina knew nothing, then he would go on with the search like Bakugo and Todoroki did. The door creaked, revealing a woman in a dress sit facing the window. Eraserhead knocked. Remember, she hates people calling her last name. If you claim respect, then she allows. Miss Seina. She turned her head to get view of something, revealing a small part of her face. Wait, I think this is the wrong room. Her eyes should be purple, shouldn't they? Tenya yells, waving his arm like a robot. Huh, the woman with pure black hair looked back. Eraser, her gray eyes blinked a few times. I knew this from the beginning, I just wonder why your counterpart never brought it up. Eraserhead moved towards the bed as he brought a chair out. Can we talk? For someone so gloomy, you still have basic manners. Fufufu, she giggled at the end. Before Tenya could ask any absurd question, Eraserhead answered, her profile isn't what you saw, that was just her description, her passport, her IDs, the person Seina Kurayami, isn't the person particularly. Just her copy. Amaya nodded to the truth. Amaya Kurayami, looking up the name, Seina Kurayami, gave you officers some trouble, huh? Tenya shouted, how could you give a fake name to the authorities? It wasn't me, it was Seina. She felt it was appropriate to give the name I gave my other half, but to be honest, could she care less? It took a while for Amaya to get control over her body. Now the thing is to figure out how. She looked unwavering. It was clear all her smiles from before were fake. She sighed, there are two options, but one problem is that. Tenya, now being sure that staying behind was worth it, said, yes. He desires her life. Eraser's expression changed to confusing, then reversed back. It's an unusual state to longing a person because of the quirk. He wants her more than anything. His love for her isn't affected by it though, but, she strokes her chin then continues. How I pushed down Seina isn't relevant. I desired my revenge, I got it, but I overcame it with guilt. She turned to them, that's the only way, to take care of his doppelganger. He has to regret everything he's down to his core, like I did, but that's the problem. He has to absolutely regret hurting something he didn't want to, in this case Uraraka. Wouldn't kidnapping be enough to regret it? Amaya looked up and into the boy's eyes. Sorry, hurting is an understatement. Like I absolutely ruined the boy's life, and it took me to find out that I turned a teenager inspired to be a hero into a psychotic killer, that almost murdered his own childhood friend. I understand why he tried it for me, to finally be able to actually push Seina down. You think kidnapping's enough? But he almost killed Bakugo, wouldn't that be? She sighed, I desired my revenge on Midoriya and the others, so when I did something specifically to Midoriya, I felt bad for it and used it to suppress Seina. Do you get it now? The lump in his throat was unbearable. So what you're saying is that, she felt sorry for not dying it down for him. She wondered why he cared so much though. Not specifically, I mean that was my way, but I think there's one thing you misunderstood in what I said. He looked straight at her. Who said Seina's gone? Longing was already seething. He snapped back to his thoughts. Ochako. He quickly had sight of Shoto. He wanted to go after them, but he felt Izuku trying to take control. He wasn't so close to it, but he knew it would hold Longing back from going after Ochako, like I'd let you. Izuku was finally able to talk through his own mouth. Longing held his head even though that sudden pain was agonizing. He didn't let go of his control. Bakugo shot several blasts, noticing the opening left for him. The smoke cleared, showing his figure standing back up. His eyes turned darker with rage as he charged at Bakugo. He blocked the punch Longing threw at him with his arm, using the opportunity to grab his wrist and use his other hand to blast off Longing. He winced, grabbing the arm he used to block him. The nerd's copy must have broken it. He raised his other hand. He knew he couldn't let Longing know what he did, but he felt like that was his plan. Bakugo saw nothing in the smoke. He jumped back. Shouldn't his stupid eyes be glowing? He aimed for a blast when he saw a chain came out and held on to his arm, exactly where he attacked before. Before he could react by blasting him while the smoke was now clear, Longing held him tighter. He groaned, as he felt something tugging his leg. He aimed a blast at Longing, but he easily dodged it, but didn't let go like Bakugo, like he had planned. Before he could think of another solution, the chain holding onto his injured arm tightened. He fell to the ground while he grunted. He looked up while Longing scoffed, seeing the look of hatred on his face. He wanted to show his appreciation too. He kicked the blonde's jaw. While he tried to stand, he landed on his back. Longing walked forward, activating One for All again. He suddenly felt a pain at the back of his head. He grunted, shaking his head. Kaken, I can hold his back much longer. Do it. Like I wasn't going to. He blasted a large explosion as soon as Longing got back control. Not that it mattered. He used the few seconds he had to get back up. The smoke cleared, showing the copy kneeling while trying to see through all the smoke around him. Bakugo aimed several attacks at that direction, mentally swearing that Izuku better thank him for this. Bakugo stayed while collecting himself. He noticed his eyes weren't glowing anymore. He was planning something else. he was intentionally closing his eyes so he won't be seen. He stepped forward. Clang chains came his way, clearing the smoke, revealing the copy. Bakugo evaded them using his chance to aim right at his face. The chain faded as he blocked the attack. Even though he saved his eyesight, the attack threw him off the ground. Bakugo went up to him ready to knock him out when he felt something hold on to his injured arm. He screamed in pain as the thing seemed to be squeezing in between the dislocation. Before he could do anything else, he saw the copy smirk as the others grabbed the rest of his limbs. Longing got up. "Now, you're gonna tell me where they took her. Where do you think, idiot?" He practically growled at his response. "You expect me to believe you came to keep me busy so you can take her to UA, the most predictable place." As he said that, he tightened the chains. Bakugo squinted his eyes while noticing the purple glow on the chains. His vision was less clear. He shook his head vigorously. His head started ringing, as he heard Longing's voice echoing, "Now tell me where he's taking her." Bakugo grunted. It was like he was squeezing out his own reasoning, leaving out the part of him that wanted this to end. What the hell? He couldn't feel his own mouth move anymore. It was like someone else was the one controlling him. Go to. Longing was already seething. He snapped back to his thoughts. Ochaco. He quickly had sight of Shoto. He wanted to go after them, but he felt Izuku trying to take control. He wasn't so close to it, but he knew it would hold Longing back from going after Ochaco. "Like I'd let you." Izuku was finally able to talk through his own mouth. Longing held his head even though that sudden pain was agonizing. He didn't let go of his control. Bakugo shot several blasts, noticing the opening left for him. The smoke cleared, showing his figure standing back up. His eyes turned darker with rage as he charged at Bakugo. He blocked the punch Longing threw at him with his arm, using the opportunity to grab his wrist and use his other hand to blast off Longing. He winced, grabbing the arm he used to block him. The nerd's copy must have broken it. He raised his other hand. He knew he couldn't let Longing know what he did, but he felt like that was his plan. Bakugo saw nothing in the smoke. He jumped back. Shouldn't his stupid eyes be glowing? He aimed for a blast when he saw a chain came out and held on to his arm, exactly where he attacked before. Before he could react by blasting him while the smoke was now clear, Longing held him tighter. He groaned, as he felt something tugging his leg. He aimed a blast at Longing, but he easily dodged it, but didn't let go like Bakugo like he had planned. Before he could think of another solution, the chain holding onto his injured arm tightened. He fell to the ground while he grunted. He looked up while Longing scoffed, seeing the look of hatred on his face. He wanted to show his appreciation too. He kicked the blonde's jaw. While he tried to stand, he landed on his back. Longing walked forward, activating One for All again. He suddenly felt a pain at the back of his head. He grunted, shaking his head. "Kaken, I can hold his back much longer. Do it." Like I wasn't going to. He blasted a large explosion as soon as Longing got back control. Not that it mattered. He used the few seconds he had to get back up. The smoke cleared, showing the copy kneeling while trying to see through all the smoke around him. Bakugo aimed several attacks at that direction, mentally swearing that Izuku better thank him for this. Bakugo stayed while collecting himself. He noticed his eyes weren't glowing anymore. He was planning something else. He was intentionally closing his eyes so he won't be seen. He stepped forward. Clang chains came his way, clearing the smoke, revealing the copy. Bakugo evaded them using his chance to aim right at his face. The chain faded as he blocked the attack. Even though he saved his eyesight, the attack threw him off the ground. Bakugo went up to him ready to knock him out when he felt something hold on to his injured arm. He screamed in pain as the thing seemed to be squeezing in between the dislocation. Before he could do anything else, he saw the copy smirk as the others grabbed the rest of his limbs. Longing got up. "Now, you're gonna tell me where they took her. Where do you think, idiot?" He practically growled at his response. "You expect me to believe you came to keep me busy so you can take her to UA, the most predictable place." As he said that, he tightened the chains. Bakugo squinted his eyes while noticing the purple glow on the chains. His vision was less clear. He shook his head vigorously. His head started ringing, as he heard Longing's voice echoing, "Now tell me where he's taking her." Bakugo grunted. It was like he was squeezing out his own reasoning, leaving out the part of him that wanted this to end. What the hell? He couldn't feel his own mouth move anymore. It was like someone else was the one controlling him. Go to hell, bstrd. The copy's face darkened in rage, confused by the statement. What? The chains were meant to make him say the truth, not cuss. Kurayami warned us about you manifesting this quirk, so she showed us two possible different locations. He's not lying. He can't. The thought of Ochako going further away from him with every second he wasted there made him grit his teeth. I don't even know where she's going. He shook his head in frustration, then snapped out of his thoughts. The only thing that enraged the copy more than the smirk on Bakugo's face was having Ochako being taken away from him again. He can't get that far with his ice, he knows I can track him that way, so where he's hiding her can't be so far from here. He thought, staring at the direction Shoto ran off to. It doesn't matter how much you get all said, just how do you plan on getting to her now? Longing smiled devilishly before looking back, by making sure you're not in my way, ever. Again, he tightened the chains as more mist came out, creating one more which aimed for his chest when his eyes suddenly widened. No, I can't do this anymore, it's because you're too much of a wimp to do it, so let me. Both eyes were different colors and showing different personalities entirely. Bakugo. Please, you need to blast me. Now. Izuku held his head as he was trying his best to maintain control. The mist disappeared too, he didn't know how to control it in the first place. Bakugo aimed at the boy who barely owned his own body. I just have to get him off his feet. Like I'd let him, Longing said, gaining back full control. Wait. Stop, they heard a voice call out behind them, round face. What are you doing? Ochako, don't come any closer. Ochako, the copy wanted to go to her but wondered where Shoto was. Longing stepped back while letting his chains hold on to Bakugo's torso. Stop it, she shouted back before he even tightened its grip on the blonde, but he did it anyway. Todoroki's gotten Kurayami's temporary antidote. She breathed in before stepping forward, remembering how Izuku motivated her. Keeping it in made it even worse. Is this how he felt? She sometimes thought. He gasped in pain as his eyes instantly turned back green. Ochako, please, stay back. Izuku's lack of knowledge over the chains made them fade with the mist in an instant. Ochako saw this as an opportunity. She ran towards them and put Bakugo's arm around her neck, letting her support him because his leg was broken. She went as fast as she could let on as Izuku was fighting, longing for control. She was going toward a small forest of trees further away from that area and closer to where Kurayami and Shoto were waiting. In fact, she noticed a woman's silhouette behind a tree that immediately ducked back after reassuring Ochako. Kurayami. Why aren't her eyes glowing? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of rustling from far behind, indicating that Longing was coming. What are you doing, Ochako? The copy yelled while seeing Bakugo's arm around her. She immediately put Bakugo down, resting his back on a tree. I'm trying to save him, something I should have done for you. She said with worry in her voice before smiling. Izuku doesn't need saving, neither does that bstrd. She stepped forward. You don't mean that. Stay back. Izuku took control while shivering and stepping back with every step she took forward. Please, I don't want you to get hurt, he whimpered as she tilted her head in confusion with the same smile on her face. You hurt me. How? She noticed his eyes were both different colors again. All you've done is inspire to be a better person and save me, but I didn't help when you needed saving, but that changes now. He shut his eyes only to feel his face being cupped by her hands. Get away from me, you shouldn't have all my burdens. She rested her forehead on his. That's true, but you've had some of mine, right? Even when you couldn't afford it, and what's even the use? You're the strongest person I know, you always give a helping hand, so if you have too much on your shoulders, I'll carry some of your burdens for you. His eyes had different colors again, but hers didn't change in their softness. You're not really going to listen, are you? Do you really think she can love you the same at her own will, after taking away her freedom? What about your classmates? Do you really think they're going to accept you back so easily? Even after you've shown them all your intentions? Face it. You're unforgivable. Izuku couldn't deny these things. His control slipped off him. The only burden is that you're ours, but you weren't hesitant to wrap your arms around him, were you? She didn't tense up, knowing that behind this wall of intensified feelings that were thought only to be ignored was her freckled lovable lover. He held her shoulder and her chin. It wouldn't be that, you want him, right? He looked at her, his eyes were mysteriously darker. Though she was afraid of this little change, she still needed to let Izuku know that she could still see through him. I don't get it. I try to make you mine but there's always someone in my way and you still stop me from killing them for taking you away from me. He smiled devilishly before pinning her down to the ground. You really think I'd give up that easily? He held her neck as she squinted, her eyes in pain from him tightening his hold of her, but that didn't manage to quench the smile on her face. Uraraka, the blonde who was watching the scene, tried aiming an attack at Longing. He reacted by letting his chains hold the Bakugo down. You don't really want to hurt any of us. Longing looked back down at her. As much as he loved her smile, he felt fazed by all this denial being thrown at him. Maybe I wasn't specific enough. You're mine, I want you all to myself, but that's clearly not happening if you keep meddling with idiots like him. He smiled widely, imitating her soft one. Unless you agree you are mine and give me the peace of mind, then I have to find another way to make sure you remain only mine. Forever. He gave her the space to respond by giving only a little airway left. She struggled to speak. You wouldn't do this even if you wanted to. She held his wrist gently. Wrong answer, but memories of all their encounters flashed in his eyes. The first time they met, her determination to get better after the sports festival even after most people didn't consider her a good enough opponent, her optimistic mask to hide her own true feelings. He couldn't forget them. He loved them and he couldn't hurt her. His eyes widened then turned green again. He was shaking before he let go of her neck and rested his hands beside her head instead. I'm so sorry. He got off of her and stood before backing away from them, as she stood slowly, trying not to cough, and got closer. Seriously, I don't want to hurt you. I didn't want to either, but I hurt you first. If I had reported to the teachers or talked when this all began, things would have been better. She hugged him. I love you so much, Izuku. I want to support you. You can't seriously believe this. He looked away. I'll selfishly lean on you for my own satisfaction. I'm also flawed, so I lean on you a lot too, so let's support each other as we go on. He looked into her honest brown eyes. He seemed to calm down before he tensed up again. His eyes were different colors again. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he held his head. No. I won't let you hurt her. He took full control but instantly fell weak and passed out. She knelt down and caught his head just in time. Before he fully lost consciousness he heard her say, "Welcome back, Deku." She laid his head on her lap. She's mine. Yandere. Deku times Ochaco. Shoto and Amaya jumped out of hiding to meet with Ochaco. They were worried since Longing's just as smart as Izuku, so he'd probably notice them eventually if they were close enough, and by them, they meant Amaya, who was making loud clicking noises by fixing the strange gun with a syringe. Shoto carried Bakugo towards them as Ochaco looked up at her most angered classmate, who looked emotionless at the two of them, but his eyes were somehow filled with relief while Ochaco's were filled with mostly painful regret. Izuku somehow looked more peaceful than he had in the past 2 weeks, plus the week and a few days that she was kidnapped. Ochaco looked at the three of them. I'm so sorry about this. Aren't you technically the victims? Bakugo asked. You shouldn't be apologizing. Shoto added. She nodded then looked at the almond-shaped eyed woman who rolled up Izuku's sleeve. Seeing the wound caused by the syringe she used to give him Longing in the first place, her hand must have slipped and made the cut deeper. It healed, she sighed. Ochaco looked at her and she also looked up at the brunette. I have so many questions. Amaya tilted her head slightly. Why aren't you in jail? Well, first of all it was my second half who was conscious. Second, she got evidence from the League about a disgraceful mimic of Chisaki's, but that doesn't matter now. It's a far drive to your school. You should start going. Ochaco looked back at Izuku then looked tense when she noticed a small syringe injected in his neck and Amaya's empty gun. That's why he passed out. Amaya removed the syringe. Is that going to help with Longing? Amaya sighed. No, but technically, well, no, she said. I made it, but watching that fight I discovered that his copy takes a whole lot of his brain now. I thought that he was still little, but now this seems so much more different. What do you mean? Now, they're split personalities. I'm afraid there's no solution to this. Erasing part of him is erasing part of Midoriya, a very, very huge part. He'd go stupid, huh? Ochaco sighed. She promised him she'd be there for him. She wondered how their classmates would take this. Could things really be the same after all that had happened? Times 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 times. Izuku looked around in the forest around him. I'm really back here. Wait, is he in control? Wait, no, this has a different feel to it, like I'm asleep wondering if I'm dreaming. Longing taking control does still have the same feel but somehow different. It was weird how somehow with all his muttering he had a colossal lack of skill for describing these things. Wait, then I passed out, he wondered while looking around, not seeing Longing anywhere. You really are hopeless, the copy's voice called out before appearing before him. I don't care what you dash, the copy scoffed, so you really think this will work for you, huh? You act like a victim while you maliciously try to end her life. She might have been sweet by telling you that you suffered yourself, but think about it. Izuku's chest felt tightened, like a feeling of bracing for impact. She wanted to tell you how much she felt bad for putting this burden on you, but you selfishly told her that she shouldn't be near you. Izuku's eyes widened. You saw her tears. She was suffering too, even before the quirk hit you. She kept it all inside, but what did you do? You tried to get her out of your room. Am I wrong? You said you didn't want to hurt her. Too bad you were doing it way before all this all happened. The mental images flashed in Izuku's head. She said it herself. She liked him too. He remembered all the times she could have felt jealous, especially at the provisional hero licensing exam, the time with Hatsum. She was also keeping it in, but when she saw him suffering she shook it away, at least for the final time. But he didn't even notice her. The tightening in his chest quickly turned into an excruciating pain. He grunted before falling on his knees. Face it, you're not worth their forgiveness, and you know how much you want her to be only yours, but you'll never have her again if you don't make sure of that. He looked up at the copy's dark eyes, remembering what he could only mean. The pain increased when he saw himself on top of her again. His vision became blurry, then the only thing that was clear was the smile on her face. Why you wouldn't to this even if you wanted to? No. He slowly stood up while still shaking. What? The copy was a little shocked. He finally had Izuku down again, so seeing him back so easily confused him. Izuku, we're the same person. I know how you want her to be yours. I know even Ochaco's mask wasn't as strong as yours, always pretending you didn't crave her, even though you were more focused on being a hero. You can't deny this wasn't building up, and now I've amplified it. I'm surprised you can still take it, not having her all to yourself, unable to leave you even she wanted to. Accept it. You can't overcome your desires, but you can overcome your denial once the temptation is strong enough. I don't care if it's only putting you back and making it worse. I can't let you hurt her, and I don't care what you say. I won't lose to you if it's their freaking lives in the line. Don't be stupid. Look at all the scars and pain you've caused them. Longing made him relive everything again. Toru's scream, him hurting Ochaco before fighting Bakugo, Bakugo's almost lifeless body, Tenya's hurt look, his head hurt, everything was spinning. Let's support each other as we go on. He saw her smile flash before his eyes. Izuku's eyes widened as he smiled, only to longing surprise. How I've really lost it. I lost it good, he laughed to himself. You're right, but I only need to overcome one denial, the denial that you aren't a part of me. I've only said it out loud, but I've never really done it. You can't dash. You're right, they might never forgive me, but that doesn't mean I don't still want to be their friend. I'd rather hope for the best than cause even more pain. Longing was the one who was taken aback by this. He breathed a sigh of relief. I can't just always expect the worst when there's still hope. Sure, it's good to be realistic. What? I don't know if they'll ever forgive me and things could go back to the way they were, but I know I have to trust myself and Ochaco. I can't just accept the worst while there's still hope that things will return to the way they were. You can't, Longing scoffed. I will. I'll accept you as a part of me, and I'll accept that whatever I get are the consequences of my actions, nothing more, nothing less. Longing felt weakened. He screamed, frustrated about it. The trees around them turned lighter. The purple light that faded from the leaves flashed through Izuku's eyes, all his terrible memories again, but the green stopped it, reflecting Ochaco's and the rest of his classmates' pure encouragement. The purple faded from the leaves, only leaving the stems and grass. Izuku felt relieved all of a sudden, though. This is it. Proof we're completely split now. When you accept these things they become clearer. Izuku looked around. Even the sky was green. He never noticed there was a clear sky in his mind. He never even really looked up at the trees when he was chained down there. The copy remained his look on the clear green sky. It was a strange color for the sky up. he preferred it when it was purple, it annoyed him, won't you leave? You've accepted me, right? You can put me behind now just like you wanted. The copy made Izuku almost flinch, remembering what he told Ochako after longing took control and basically violated her in her own room. Well, all you did was make things clearer for the both of us. Izuku looked confused. What's clearer for you? Longing didn't turn to him. You're naive. Izuku stiffened at that comment. Accepting me, just like that, with what you've done, you'll make my job much easier, eventually. Izuku looked down at the grass, it darkened in an instant. He looked back at Longing, who was now looking at him with no emotion showing. I don't care what it takes to defeat you, if it's Ochiko's or anyone else on the line, I let myself lose to you. The copy smirked. I won't let you stop me either.